Welcome to the UFC Predictions Tracker End of the Year Results video. In this video we are breaking down the top performing prediction channels of the year. Who got the most and least correct picks, who made or lost the most money, and which channels had the longest winning and losing streaks. Plus, we will reveal who had the best and worst return of investment percentages for a single event this year. But first, we're going to dive into the total numbers for this year and then compare the results of the Oddsmakers, the Tapology community and the prediction channels on YouTube. So let's get started. The first video I ever made on this channel was for UFC 302 Makhachev vs Poirier at the beginning of June of 2024. Which means that the totals and the results in this video will start from that date, so 7 months. In that period, I've tracked a total of 303 fights over 25 events. Over those 303 fights, I've tracked a total of 122 UFC prediction channels. And those 122 channels made a total of 19,426 predictions. So, on average, 159.2 predictions were made per channel. Of the 19,426 predictions, 12,443 were correct, or 64.1%, and a total of 6,983 were incorrect, or 35.9%. Let's find out who was best at predicting the winner of each fight, the Oddsmakers, the Tapology community, or the prediction channels on YouTube. In total, the favorite fighter in odds won 218 times out of 298, or 73.2%. In 5 fights, the odds were exactly even, so there was no favorite or underdog, and those are ignored in these results. If you had placed a $100 bet on all the favorite fighters in odds this year for the outcome of the fight, you could have won $1,484 for a return of investment of 5%. The fighters who were the underdog in odds only won 80 times out of 298, or 26.8%. And placing a $100 bet on all the underdogs to win their fight could have lost you $7,019 for a return of investment of minus 23.6%. How accurate was the Tapology community this year, and how profitable would following their favorite picks have been? The favorite fighter in picks by the Tapology community won 201 out of 302 fights, or 66.6%, and the underdog won 101 fights for 33.4%. If you had placed a $100 bet for the outcome of each fight on the favorite fighter in picks by the Tapology community, you could have lost $834 for a return of investment of minus 2.8%. What about the UFC prediction channels on YouTube? Were they better overall at predicting the winner of each fight, and were they more profitable? Well, no. Overall, they were less accurate and less profitable than the Tapology community and the Oddsmakers. The favorite fighter in picks by the UFC prediction channels won 200 out of 301, or 66.4%. And if you had placed a $100 bet on all the favorites in picks by the UFC prediction channels, you could have lost $1,448 for a minus 4.8% return of investment. So, in conclusion, over these last 7 months, the Oddsmakers were best at predicting the winner of each fight and were the most profitable. Before we get into the results for the most and least correct picks of 2024, here are a few quick notes. These results cover 7 months of tracking, from UFC 302 Makhachev vs Poirier in June to the end of the year. Not all channels were tracked for the full period. Some were tracked from the start, while others joined later. And lastly, only channels with at least 50 predictions are included in these rankings. At number 10 for least correct picks for 2024 is The Weasel. He made 172 predictions and 101 were correct for 58.7%. At number 9 we have Lightning MMA with 52 correct out of 89 for a correct pick percentage of 58.43%. At number 8 we have Cody from the Dogger Pass podcast with 146 correct predictions out of his 250 for 58.4%. And in 7th place for least correct picks we have his co-host, Paul from the Dogger Pass podcast. He had 121 correct predictions out of his 209 for a 57.9 correct pick percentage. In 6th place we have Drywall. They made a total of 160 predictions and 92 were correct for a correct pick percentage of 57.5%. Opening the top 5 we have Manny Moicano. He made 77 predictions and 43 of them were correct for a correct pick percentage of 55.8%. In 4th place we have the Finch Jets with 86 out of 157 correct predictions for a correct pick percentage of 54.8%. In 3rd place for least correct picks this year we have Sean from the Running Mouth MMA show. He made 82 correct predictions out of 154 for a 53.2% correct pick percentage. And in 2nd place this year we have Based Gotti. She had 43 out of 85 predictions correct for a 50.6% correct pick percentage. And at number 1 for the least correct picks this year we have Kamaru Usman. He made a total of 69 picks and out of those 69 only 31 were correct for 44.9% correct pick percentage. At number 10 for most correct picks of 2024 we have Richard Picks. He had 52 out of 75 picks correct for a 69.3%. At number 9 is King of Crackdown 5095. He had 132 predictions correct out of 190 for a 69.5% correct pick percentage. In 8th place this year we have Once Upon a Slugfest. He had 207 out of 296 predictions correct for a 69.9% correct pick percentage. At number 7 we have R. Parks. He had 103 out of 147 picks correct for a 70.1% correct pick percentage. In 6th place we have Coach from Premium Picks. He made 170 picks and out of those 121 were correct for a correct pick percentage of 71.2%. Opening the top 5 we have the MMA Fortune Teller. He made 285 predictions and out of those 204 were correct for a correct pick percentage of 71.6%. In 4th place is A-Train, also from Premium Picks. I've tracked a total of 60 picks from him and 43 of them were correct for a correct pick percentage of 71.7%. In 3rd place for most correct picks we have Live It Larry MMA. 50 picks were correct out of his 68 for a correct pick percentage of 73.5%. And in 2nd place for most correct picks of 2024 we have Uncle Weezy. He made 141 picks and out of those 104 were correct for a correct pick percentage of 73.76%. But the channel with the most correct picks of 2024 was none other than MMA Lewis. 144 out of his 195 picks were correct for a correct pick percentage of 73.85%. So, congratulations to MMA Lewis, Uncle Weezy and Live It Larry MMA for being the 3 channels who had the most correct picks over the past 7 months in 2024. And here is the overview for all 122 channels, including channels that had less than 50 predictions over the last 7 months, with the channel name, the correct picks, their total picks and the correct pick percentage. Before we take a look at the results for the most unprofitable and profitable predictors of 2024, here are a few reminders. As mentioned before, these results only cover the last 7 months of 2024, starting from UFC 302 in June when I began tracking to the end of the year. Not all channels were tracked for the full period, some from the start, others joined later. Only channels with at least 50 predictions are included in these rankings. How the results are calculated. All picks from a channel are included, regardless of confidence level or whether they like the odds. If a pick was made, it counts. We place a $100 bet on each pick to win the fight, aka the money line. We calculate the results using the odds from the tail of the tape shown before each fight. Here is an example. And finally, for the rankings, we'll be looking at the ROI percentage, return of investment. At number 10, for most unprofitable predictor of 2024, we have UFC Jenny. Over his 226 picks, he lost $2,583 for a return of investment of minus 11.4%. At number 9, we have the Weasel. He made 172 predictions and lost $2,562 for a return of investment of minus 14.9%. At number 8 is Manny Moicano, with a loss of $1,161 over his 77 picks for a return of investment of minus 15.1%. In 7th place is Lightning MMA. He lost $1,358 for a minus 15.3% return of investment over his 89 picks. In 6th place we have the Finch Chats. He lost $2,540 for a return of investment of minus 16.2% over his 157 predictions. At number 5 we have Based Gotti with a loss of $1,393 for a minus 16.4% return of investment over her 85 picks. In 4th place is Drywall with a loss of $2,678 and a minus 16.7% return of investment over their 160 picks. In 3rd place we have Utica from Bros Talk MMA with a loss of $1,104 and a return of investment of minus 17.5% on his 63 picks. In 2nd place for most unprofitable predictor of 2024 we have Sean from the Running Mouth MMA show with a loss of $2,804 and a minus 18.2% return of investment over his 154 picks. But the number 1 most unprofitable predictor this year had a much worse return of investment than the other channels on this list. At number 1 for most unprofitable predictor of 2024 we have Kamaru Usman with a loss of $2,171 and a very bad return of investment of minus 31.5%, which is more than 13% extra than the number 2. Let's hope for Kamaru Usman that he will improve his results in 2025. Now let's look at the other side of the coin and find out who were the most profitable predictors of 2024. At number 10 for most profitable predictor of 2024 we have Coach from Premium Picks. He made a profit of $982 over his 170 picks for a return of investment of 5.8%. At number 9 we have Keith Schillen from Sherdock.com. He made a profit of $1,723 over his 268 picks for a 6.4% return of investment. At number 8 is Bad Sam with a profit of $1,945 and a 7.2% return of investment over his 271 picks. In 7th place is Once Upon a Slugfest with a $2,175 profit and a 7.3% return of investment over his 296 picks. At number 6 we have the MMA Fortune Teller with a profit of $2,690 and a 9.4% return of investment over his 285 predictions. At number 5 we have R. Parks with a profit of $1,390 and a return of investment of 9.5% over his 147 predictions. In 4th place we have MMA Lewis, the channel with the highest correct pick percentage this year. He made 195 picks and on those 195 picks he made a profit of $1,952 for a return of investment of 10%. Opening the top 3 of most profitable predictors of 2024 we have Live It Larry MMA with a profit of $686 for a return of investment of 10.1% over his 68 picks. In 2nd place this year we have Brandon from the Santino DeFranco podcast with a profit of $2,301 and a return of investment of 12.9% over his 179 predictions. But at number 1 for the most profitable predictor of 2024 we have Uncle Weezy. He made a profit of $2,052 and had the highest return of investment this year with 14.6% on his 141 predictions. So, congratulations to Uncle Weezy and the rest of these channels for their excellent results this year. Don't forget to check out all of these channels. Links to all these channels can be found in the video description. And here is the overview of all 122 channels, including channels that had less than 50 predictions. The overview shows the channel name, the money won or lost, and their return of investment over 2024. Which channels went on the longest losing streaks, draining money week after week, and who had the hottest winning streaks, cashing in non-stop? Let's dive in. In 5th place for longest losing streak of 2024, we have the freestyle bender Kamaru Usman, the Finch Jets, the Weasel, Nabi MMA and Brando MMA. All 6 of them had a total losing streak of 7 weeks in a row. In 4th place with an 8-week losing streak, we have Double Vision MMA 365 and UFC Fights. Over those 8 weeks they lost $1,533 and $1,343. In 3rd place we have Paul from the Dogger Pass podcast with a loss of $2,039 and Clanbot with a loss of $1,895. They both lost a total of 9 weeks in a row. And in 2nd place for the longest losing streak of 2024 we have Sean from the Running Mouth MMA show with a 10-week losing streak and a loss of $3,090 over those 10 weeks. And the channel with the longest losing streak of 2024 was Home of Bets. He managed to lose money 11 weeks in a row for a total loss of $1,484 over those 11 weeks. Which channels had the longest winning streak of 2024? At number 4 for longest winning streak we have these 8 channels. All of these 8 channels managed to win money week after week, 5 weeks in a row. In 3rd place we have Fight Fiend Forecast, Keith Schillen from Sherdock.com and Brandon from Santino DeFranco podcast. All 3 of them had a winning streak for 6 weeks in a row. But Brandon had clearly the most profit with $2,139 over those 6 weeks. In 2nd place for longest winning streak of 2024 we have Artem MMA and Bad Sam. Both of them had a winning streak of 7 weeks in a row. And in 1st place for the longest winning streak in a row of 2024 we have the MMA fortune teller and R Parks. Both of them managed to win money 9 weeks in a row. So congratulations to both of them for having the longest winning streak of this year. For the last part of this video, let's find out which channels had the highest and lowest return of investment percentage in a single UFC event this year. The only rule is they had to predict at least 50% of the fights on the card. Let's see who came out on top and who didn't. At number 10 for lowest return of investment for a single UFC event of 2024, we have the True Analyst with an ROI of minus 60.9% and a loss of $670. At number 9 is MMA Lock of the Night with a minus 61.3% return of investment and a loss of $858. Paul from the Dogger Pass podcast is at number 8 with a return of investment of minus 62.3% and a loss of $810. In 7th place is Michael Bisping with a return of investment of minus 65.9% and a loss of $461. In 6th place is Cody from the Dogger Pass podcast with minus 66% return of investment and a loss of $925. In 5th place is Utica from Bros Talk MMA with a minus 67.2% return of investment and a loss of $873. In 4th place we have Fight Fiend Forecast with a minus 69.1% return of investment and a loss of $830. The 3rd worst return of investment this year on a single UFC event was by Tiger Bomb MMA with a return of investment of minus 70.9% and a loss of $780, which he lost at UFC 304 Edwards vs Muhammad 2. In 2nd place we have Double Vision MMA 365 with a return of investment of minus 72.8% and a loss of $728, which he lost at UFC 306 O'Malley vs. Dvalishvili. And the channel with the lowest return of investment of 2024 for a single UFC event was Pure Picks, with a return of investment of minus 75% and a loss of $750, also on UFC 306 O'Malley vs. Dvalishvili. Which channels had the highest return of investment for a single UFC event in 2024? At number 10, we have Kunat, with a return of investment of 58.8% and a profit of $764. At number 9, we have That Betting Dude, with a return of investment of 59.8% and a profit of $718. In number 8 is John Kelly DFS, with a 60.2% return of investment and a $662 profit. In 7th place, we have Axel MMA, with a 60.6% return of investment and a profit of $728. Brando MMA is in 6th place, with a return of investment of 66% and a profit of $726. In 5th place, we have Home of Bets and R Parks. Both had a return of investment of 66.7%, but Home of Bets won $734 and R Parks $600. In 4th place, we have Pick'em MMA, the MMA fortune teller, and UFC Thoughts. All three of them made the exact same predictions for UFC 303 Pereira vs. Prohaska 2. And all three of them had a return of investment of 67.7% and a profit of $813. In 3rd place, we have the Ice Files, with a return of investment of 69% and a profit of $759, which he managed to win on the last UFC fight card of the year, Covington vs. Buckley. And in 2nd place, with the highest return of investment for a single UFC event, we have Bet Sam, with a return of investment of 72.7% and a profit of $800, which he managed to win at UFC 305 Duplessis vs. Adesanya. And at number 1, with the highest return of investment percentage of 2024 for a single UFC event, we have MMA El Dente, with a return of investment of 74.9% and a profit of $823, which he won at UFC Fight Night Namajunas vs. Cortez. So, congratulations to MMA El Dente and the rest of these channels that had the highest return of investment of 2024 for a single UFC event. Don't forget to check out these channels. Links to them can be found in the video description. That's it for the results of 2024, but we're not done yet. In the next video, we'll take a deep dive into favorites versus underdogs in odds for 2024. We will reveal which channels had the highest and lowest correct pick percentages when focusing only on favorites or underdogs. Plus, we'll show which channels were the most profitable when betting only on favorites or underdogs. By the end, you will know which channels to trust for favorites and underdogs and which ones to avoid. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want to support the channel, consider joining my Patreon. Thanks again for watching, have a great 2025 and I'll see you in the next video.